Dave? You're
Yes,
at the
man.
CCA workbench,
Yes,
rigs
we
and
are.
techniques. Tell me some rigs and some techniques.
Well, we're talking about beach fishing, and Texas has a huge coastline, all the way from Sabine all the way down to Port Mansfield, and there's a just ton of beaches in between, and just great. It's probably some of the best surf fishing in the Gulf of Mexico, and that's saying a lot with the stuff out in Louisiana and all the way. It's not really a beach, but some of the other places where you can go. But they just have a ton of fish in the surf, and a lot of them at certain times. They're very seasonal, but other than that, you can go and catch a lot of fish. Now, a lot of people think about surf fishing. They think about, putting a chair out and getting a 14-foot rod and having to throw, 100-yard cast, which, if you can, that's great.
And then sitting there and having a beverage.
Sitting there and waiting for the tick, 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 and then running over and winding in something.
And be a little more active.
And you can do that and be successful and catch a few fish. But when you're really serious about getting into some fish, it's much better to find a beach or a place where you can have some mobility. There's a lot of places in Texas where you can drive on the beach and just go long ways, and look for places to fish. And that's another thing, you just can't stop at any old beach and just go out there and expect to catch everything.
You look for rips and
right. You need to be going down the beach and looking for things that look different. You're seeing the same old, waves crashing, and then you'll come to a spot where, oh, look, there's a big slick spot in between here. Oh, there's a big sandbar right there.
We always look for runouts,
Correct. That's exactly right. A big rip current that's heading out to sea.
Right.
Because when you find one of those places where there's a gut and then a big current shooting through a sandbar, the fish are going to be out there somewhere waiting for all that stuff to come washing out.
The fish always relate to something a little bit different, something they
Correct. Otherwise, we'd never find them. They'd be all up and down everywhere. Luckily, they do tend to group up, and certain fish will group up more than others. But, like Spanish mackerels, they're always in a big pile, and they're a great beach fish.
Yeah.
A lot of the best surf fishing in Texas is in the spring and the winter time, when the pompanos and the Spanish mackerel and the redfish and all that stuff are cruising in that colder water, coming out of the bays, which get really cold, and they come out into the ocean, which is a little warmer. So they're flooding out with all the mullet and everything else. They have that big mullet run when the things get cold. So they go out into the surf. Now, so what I'd like to start with is like a 12-pound spinning rod with a jig on it, because that's my fish finder. A jig with some fish bites on it, or something like a little pompano jig with a little hair tail. And you can put fish bites or even a shrimp or a piece of squid, any kind of bait, and you throw that out into the first gut and work that thing. And
that catches probably just about anything.
Just about anything. Yeah. Spanish mackerels. You might lose some Spanish mackerels if you're not using wire, but you want to try to get in there in that first gut and work it really good. And if
you don't necessarily need to
there,
use a surf rod, you can
correct. I like to, and it's because of the mobility of it.
Right.
Once you start bringing that big surf rod out, which you need if you're going to be fishing for sharks or big reds, fish that'll, 30-pound fish,
right.
It'll be hard to catch in the surf with something like that, even though you can hook a lot of them. You might not catch as many with that.
Might be fun for a minute.
Right, you're going to want something bigger. But for pompanos especially, which I really enjoy, and you get there's some pompanos in Texas, which most people don't realize. They're called a cobble fish too. But if you get some surf rigs like these from Fish Bites, they have these little styrofoam deals on them and beads and whatnot that attract those pompanos, and you put a piece of sandfly fish bites on there, or a little bit of crab or shrimp especially works great.
Yep.
You can catch those, or you can build your own. You can build your own little rigs, and this is got a nice spoon in it, which is again a spoon is a great thing to throw in the surf for just about everything. But here's a 20-pound surf rig that I made up with fluorocarbon. You could put two dropper rigs and a pyramid sinker. We use a pyramid sinker in the surf because it holds it doesn't roll. It usually will stay in one spot and holds its spot. You know, you can use a flat-sided sinker as well. And if you put a loop on the bottom of your rig, you can change out your sinkers.
Yeah, real easy to change that
Yeah, if the
out.
tide picks up and you need more weight, or the tide slacks off and you don't need as much, you can change your weights out like that. I like to use a circle hook or even a kale hook.
A lot of the surf guys like the kale
If you
hook.
use that kale hook, it's like a circle hook, but boy, it hooks whiting like crazy, which you always want to catch, and it also works on the pompanos and everything else as well. And you can build, put a bigger circle hook on here and use chunk baits if you're trying to catch
bigger stuff.
reds and bigger fish, big black drum, which you get in the surf here in Texas, big jacks, stuff like that. And if you're seeing a lot of fish and you've got your spinning reel, you can also go to throwing plugs. A miradine in the surf, anything that looks like a little mullet.
And you can cast these things a mile.
You can cast them a mile, and everything loves to eat these miradines for mirror and gotchas. Just about anything that you throw that's small and darting and it's in the surf will get eaten if something's there.
That's right.
So get out there and do it. It's
Beach
fun.
fishing's a lot of fun.
It's fun.
It's always good news when Dave's got a lot of stuff on his desk
I got a
over
lot of
there.
stuff.
He's got
A lot of
a lot of
stuff.
stuff to talk about.